Welcome to our final official Colorado Sports Hall of Fame podcast of the year 2025. I'm Dave Plotty.
And I'm Jim Sacamano. We're your co hosts. Between us, we have 88 years of experience working in media relations in Colorado sports. Myself with the Broncos, Dave with CU. And back in the day, both of us with the Denver Bears and with several side experiences as well.
We are leading up to the revealing of 150 of the state of Colorado's most memorable yet significant moments in our illustrious sports history, including ranking the top 50, heading into the state's 150th birthday on August 1st, 2026. That's the date Colorado was admitted to the Union as the 38th state in 1876. A select committee of state sports veterans, 9 of us in all, with over 250 years involved in the state of Colorado sports, are ranking those top moments. This is our last random podcast for now, as next week we will begin our countdown with moments 146 through 150. The Denver Gazette is on board to help promote our project and is planning to highlight one per day, right now Thursdays through Mondays. Tentatively, we're still discussing that plan, after our reveal on the podcast, which will either be on Wednesdays or Thursdays. This will continue until the top 10 moments we will count down daily at the end of July.
This is our 9th podcast. We hope you're enjoying them. We're planning to have an occasional guest or two from those moments as they relive them with us on our podcasts, which are archived on the CSHOF website, coloradosports.org. Click on the menu bar and then podcasts.
And all are archived. You can go back and listen to all of them, going back to our very first one. In the interim, we have been revisiting some special other moments in Colorado sports history. I have now isolated over 1,900 overall moments, and today we come bidding farewell to the year 2025. We'll take a look back at some great farewells, either last home or final games in their careers in Colorado sports history. For example, going back to November 25th, 1937. Too bad we can't have him on as a guest, but he'd be pretty old. In his final regular season game as a collegiate on Thanksgiving Day, game was played in Denver. Byron White accounted for all 34 of CU's points in the Buffalo's 34-7 win over the Denver Pioneers. He scored 3 touchdowns, passed for 2 others, and made 4 extra point kicks. Then, in CU's first ever bowl game on New Year's Day, 1938 against Rice in the Cotton Bowl, White shined in the game, throwing a touchdown pass to Joe Antonio and returning an interception 47 yards for a score, as CU took an early 14-0 lead before the Owls rallied for a 28-14 win.
In what turned out to be his final professional game on September 21st, 1952, Denver catcher Luther Buddy Phillips went 4 for 4 with 2 doubles and 4 RBI to lead the Bears to a 3-game sweep over Omaha for the Western League title before 5,749 at Bears Stadium. That was quite a crowd back in the day, Dave.
Sure was, and to play your last game of the season, doing that to help the team sweep the Omaha. I don't think they were the Royals, and they've had different nicknames through the years, but that's pretty impressive. Greatest farewell for that year.
Yes, it is.
Now let's go back to November 20th, 1954. Colorado coach Dal Ward told the underclassmen to dedicate the final game against Kansas State to a quintet of seniors, in particular to 4-year letterman Carroll Hardy and Frank Bernardi. The Buffs easily defeated the Wildcats 38-14 at Folsom Field, and that was a big game for Kansas State. A win would have given them a shot at the Orange Bowl, because back then the teams rotated. You could not go to the same bowl game 2 years in a row. And Oklahoma, I'm sure, had gone the year before. Hardy and Bernardi were sheer terrors to the K-State defense. Hardy rushed for 238 yards and 3 touchdowns on just 10 carries. That's 24 yards a crack. While Bernardi picked up 113 in a score on only 9 tries. Now, Carroll, of course, is famous for being the only man to pinch hit for the great Ted Williams. Carroll played both pro football and baseball. But he also pinch hit for Roger Maris and Carl Yastrzemski.
Back in the day when he was playing professional football for the NFL's San Francisco 49ers, he once caught 10 passes for an average of about 24 yards a catch. And that remained as the 49er record, the average per catch per pass. until they changed it, and they changed it for political reasons. They wanted Jerry Rice to be in the record book instead of Carroll Hardy. So they changed the number, minimum of 10 to minimum of whatever, 50 or 70 and so forth. Anyway, that was the record once upon a time.
And Carroll spent a lot of time with the Bronco organization, did he not?
Oh, he certainly did. He was great. He was magnificent, and it was very much like Matt Dillon. When he walked in the room, everybody turned to Carroll Hardy. He was in great shape. He had that great jaw. He was a classic guy. On Harry Holland's night, which has nothing to do with Carroll, but Harry Holland's at DU in the season finale at a packed DU fieldhouse on March 2nd, 1968. Holland's, the school's all-time leading scorer to this day, sank 2 free throws with 2 seconds remaining in the game as the Pioneers upset number 7 New Mexico, 70-68. He finished with 24 points and 4 rebounds as the Lobos fell to 23-3 on the season. Hollins finished his 75-game home career at DU with 1,879 points. Actually, the 78 games included away games as well. He had a 25.1 per game average home and away. Hollins will be one of 6 inducted into the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame this April.
If you've been listening to our podcast, you know that Jim and I have an affinity for the minor league sports and history. So let's go back to May 3rd, 1972. Fran Huck. Now, isn't that a great name for a hockey player?
Perfect.
He was in minor leagues in between stints in the NHL with the Denver Spurs. Some might remember their cool logo. He scored 2 goals with an assist in Denver's 6-0 win over Portland at Denver Coliseum, enabling the Spurs to win the Western Hockey League championship in 5 games. Huck was named the most valuable player of the series, scoring 9 goals with 4 assists. He returned to the NHL the next season.
That's incredible. Great name, great memories. These are great. One of the most memorable farewells I witnessed in person was on December 14th, 1975. The great Floyd Little capped his 9-year professional career by leading Denver to a 25-10 win over Philadelphia in his final home game. After the Eagles tied the game at 10 in the third quarter, he scored what proved to be the winning points with a 66-yard touchdown pass on a screen pass from Steve Ramsey. I remember he had to leap for the catch, even though it was a screen pass, and then Haven Moses threw a great downfield block. He then scored the final points of his game on a 2-yard TD run with 1:57 to play. He finished the game with 56 yards on 19 carries, 5 receptions for 94 yards. Fans who braved the 15-degree temperatures to watch the NFL's 7th all-time leading rusher in his final home appearance gave him standing ovations every time he left the field and carried him off as he blew kisses to the spectators in Mile High Stadium's fabled South Stands.
What a career that Floyd had here. And I had the, growing up as a Bronco fan, even though I was in New York when Bill McCartney was inducted into the College Sports Hall of Fame at the morning press conference. I remember sitting at a table with Floyd Little and Otis Armstrong. And even though I was 53 or 53 years old, I think, I was like a little kid sitting there with 2 of my childhood heroes sitting at the same table. I'm sure you've had moments like that too, Jim.
Oh, yeah. It's surreal.
All right. So it wasn't necessarily a joyous end to a 40-year coaching career, but Southern Colorado battled Regis to the end 3 times. Excuse me, sorry. Before falling 80-72 in 3 overtimes. That's where I wanted to mention the word 3. In a first-round District 7 playoff game back on March 3, 1980. It was the last game for Coach Harry Simmons. The Chief, as he was known, compiled a 603, 326 win-loss record in 35 seasons at the Pueblo School, which started out as Pueblo Junior College. It was also the final games for Tony White, who scored 23 points and finished as the school's all-time assist leader to this day with 443 in 80 games, and Herman the Helicopter Phillips, who in 102 games averaged a double-double for his career, 14 points, 10.3 rebounds, one of 13 players in state history to do so. At this point, our guest today is going to be Tim Simmons, the son of Harry, who is also a veteran in Colorado sports PR history. And Tim's going to tell us a little bit about his father and some of those great Pueblo teams. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks, David, and especially David and Todd, our producer. And yeah, it's kind of a sentimental for me because 2 days ago it was 80. We marked the 80th anniversary of my dad being hired down at Pueblo Junior College, which became then Southern Colorado State College in 1963. 75 became the University of Southern Colorado, and now, and I think 2003 became CSU Pueblo. But I was at that game when he lost to Lonnie, and of course Lonnie is in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, and he's the all-time leader of wins in the state of Colorado for four-year coaches. And he had a heck of a career at Adams State as a player. Coached Denver Manual in 1972 to the state title, but it was great, and it was kind of ironic that 35 years later, after that game in 1980. Lonnie Porter coached his last game at Regis on February 28th, 2015, and he lost to then CSU Pueblo 85-75. So that was very interesting. But, the highlight, obviously, of my dad's career was two things. One, winning the National Junior College title in 1961 to become the second school in the state to win a national title. The first was Regis back in 1949 with one of the founding fathers of the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, Larry Varnell, as the coach. And of course, Larry is in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame and became a successful businessman in Denver after the coach and so forth. And then obviously Metro States won two national titles in college division in 2000 and 2002 and so forth. And of course, my dad's 1972 team was the first team in the state to earn a Elite Eight berth in the college division. Metro, obviously, since then has done a very good job in doing that. And I think even Northern Colorado once got in there with, I think, one of Todd's friends, Mike Higgins, who had a very good career. And of course, there's been some very good college basketball coaches that have been inducted in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. One of them, George Scott, my dad replaced at Trinidad Junior College back in the 1941. And George was a very successful coach. And other coaches that have been in the Hall of Fame, Jim Darden, who, played on the original Nuggets team back in the late 40s, coached at Mines for 38 years, kind of like Lonnie Porter. Jim Williams up at CSU. Sox Walsop, that Dave and I knew at Colorado, coached both the men's and women's team. Lonnie Porter, Jim Topol, and people don't realize Topol had won more college games for both 4-year and 2-year than any other coach in the state of Colorado. And he had totaled 678 in 35 years down at Trinidad. My dad, for combining with Trinidad, won 602 to rank number 2. A guy by the name of Roy Edwards out at Northeastern is third, and followed by Lonnie Porter. So those are some of the top coaches in the state. And again, my dad's college coach, Frosty Cox, is also inducted in the thing. And Frosty kind of brought Colorado to the dominance. And little people don't realize that during World War II, CU gave up basketball for a couple of years so the Navy could take over Balch Fieldhouse. And CU was the dominant team in the Rocky Mountain. And if they'd been playing, they would have battled Wyoming in 1943 for the national title and Utah in 1944, because those were the top teams in the country. And so CU could have been a national champion if they could have fielded a team during World War II.
And all these coaches you've mentioned are in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, right?
Yep, they're all in there. And my dad replaced a guy by the name of Jim Baggett at Fountain High School. He went on to Greeley and won many state titles up there, and he got inducted in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. And then I mentioned George Scott, who was down at Trinidad. He was inducted in 1975. So you could see my dad had a great career. He played for Frosty Cox. He played in the very first game in Balch Fieldhouse back in, I think it was 1937, January 8th, when CU defeated DU, and that was the very first game there. And one of his teammates was Wizard White. And my dad always said they called the team White and Company, and my dad was the period and company. So it was very special memory. So thanks for recognizing my dad's last game. Yes, it was kind of bittersweet. He lost it, but he lost to a great coach in Lonnie Porter and at Regis Fieldhouse, and it was kind of a neat time. And but it's like everything else, all good stories that got to come to an end.
Tim, your dad won 600 plus games, but he didn't win one time. He won one game 600 times. That's pretty incredible. That's an amazing thing.
Well, as he said when he did it, he went in the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame in 1982. And one of the guys that went in was Jerry Phipps. I think, Jim, you knew him very well.
Yeah.
And Dave obviously worked with him with the Bears and all that stuff. And then Bobby Anderson went in. And of course, to me, Bobby Anderson was one of the most competitive athletes that we ever had in the state of Colorado. He might not have been a great pro, but he was a tremendous college athlete. And I just remember a story of him in baseball, how competitive he was as a catcher. And then the other guy that went in was Pos Parsons, who was a college coach before he became, for about 19 years, the sports editor of the Denver Post. So that was a very special time for us. And my dad always looked forward back to the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame. Dave, when was it? 1965 was the first banquet. And that was always a highlight. We drive up from Pueblo, and it usually was in February. And it was really the thing to go to. And it was the highlight of the sporting scene in Colorado for many, many years. It still is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1965 was the first.
And so just thank you very much. And glad to be a part of it with you guys.
Tim, it wouldn't be the same without you.
Tim is our executive producer, by the way. Full disclosure. Let's resume counting down, or let's resume the farewell.
Actually, playing in his final home game on November 15th, 1986, Colorado State fullback Steve Bartello rushed for 450 yards and 2 touchdowns to lead the Rams to a 32-27 win over New Mexico. He finished the year with 1,419 yards and 19 touchdowns rushing, another 280 yards receiving for 1,708 total yards, and being named the Offensive Player of the Year in the WAC. That was pretty cool back in the day.
And of course, he started that season at the Folsom Field in Boulder, leading the Rams to a 23-7 win over my Buffaloes. So he had a good season from the start to finish, that's for sure.
He sure did.
Now in his final home game at Coors Field on September 25th, 2013, Todd Helton went 2 for 3 with a home run and drove in 3 runs in the Colorado Rockies' 15-5 loss to the Boston Red Sox. The sellout crowd of 48,000 plus gave him multiple standing ovations during the game. And I can't remember. I don't think I was the official scorer for that game. I'm pretty sure I would remember that.
Well, you've been there for a lot of moments, Dave.
About 350 games I scored over 17 years. So.
Yeah, in fact, with Colorado being heading toward its 150th anniversary, I have to wonder, were you there at the start?
The very first game?
I'm just kidding. But sometimes it seems like it.
Funny guy.
Also, in his last game as a Colorado Rocky on September 29th, 2024, against the Los Angeles Dodgers, Charlie Blackmon first fouled out, but then singled in the 3rd inning, then leaving the game to a standing ovation from the sellout crowd of 48-320 at Coors Field. He ended his career with a 6-game hitting streak and batted .423 for the 6-game final homestand. He was 8 for 2019 with a double, triple, a home run, and 4 RBI. LA won 2-1, but so what? It was all about Charlie Blackmon,
who had a great career. Of course, he wore number 19 most of those years, but when he first came up to the team, it was in number 8. And then he disappeared for a while, then came back as wearing number 19, which is a great number in state history. A lot of great players wore number 19. So, well, at this time with New Year's Day upon us, Jim, what is your favorite New Year's Day or New Year's Eve memory or memories?
Well, it has to be there. I got to go with 2 things. glorious and not so glorious. The 1977 AFC title game, which the Broncos defeated the Oakland Raiders to go to the first Super Bowl, that was incredible. And of course, the killing of Darren Williams. I mean, I hate to use the word killing, but it was a murder where he got shot in the neck after leaving a nightclub. And he was such a good guy. And he was such a good guy. It was a tragedy to lose him. Dave, what's yours?
Well, first of all, back to Darren Williams. Wasn't he just innocently sitting in a car and took a stray bullet?
Yeah, he was. He was. And by all accounts, they were not shooting at Darren, but he got hit. And that's life. I mean, that's the stray bullet of life.
That is so true. So, well, my New Year's Day, I had 6 New Year's Day bowls, 3 Fiesta, two Orange, of course, and 1 Cotton Bowl. So obviously the back-to-back Orange Bowls against Notre Dame in 1990 and 1991 are probably the biggest memories, even though we lost in 1990, just running the gamut of that entire season, looking back was a pretty exhausting run. And then to get back there in 1991 was a pretty good achievement as well. And that's when we finally broke through and beat Notre Dame 10-9 to win the national title. About a New Year's Eve, what I remember about New Year's Eve is an 11-year-old.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
I was watching CU beat Houston in the Astro Bluebonnet Bowl in 1971. And that's when Houston had Earl Campbell. Oh, no, Houston had Robert Newhouse, I'm sorry. And the bus were stacked with a lot of sophomores that did well. And the play that I think everybody remembers who's a Buff fan was 4th and 9 on our own 12-yard line. John Bad Dude Stearns is our punter. He decided to take off on a fake punt that was not called and made the first down. And CU wound up driving the length of the field and scored the clinching touchdown. But to do that on your own, I can only imagine what Andy Crowder was thinking until he saw John pass that first down marker.
Yeah, you want to kill him. You want to kill him. You kill him. How'd it go? Out of way, John. That's right.
It's kind of like a basketball player throwing up a 30-foot 3-pointer and it goes in. The coach finally looks the other way. I think in 1999, though, after CU, we thrashed Boston College so badly in the Insight.com Bowl. Whatever happened to Insight.com? But 2 of us took 2 flights from Tucson to Phoenix to LA to see Jimmy Buffett's Millennium Concert at Universal Amphitheater. So that's probably my top New Year's Eve memory. But having so many games around New Year's Eve and New Year's Day at college, they kind of run into each other after you've been with the place for 40 years.
That's right, Dave. And after a while, you've got so many memories, and they intersperse. They tie into each other. One reminds you of another. As always, we look forward to you tuning in weekly to enjoy our reminiscing with our Colorado Sports Hall of Fame guests, as well as our trips back into the state's sports history. A reminder that the Colorado Sports Hall of Fame class for 2026 will be inducted this coming April 16th at the Hilton City Center in downtown Denver. In the meantime, Happy New Year to all, and we'll see you in 2026.